Wrenched into isolation, life evolves differently. And here, whole families of animals exploded with diversity. Evolution ran riot to create a bizarre lineup of wild creatures found nowhere else on the planet. Welcome to Madagascar, a world apart. Madagascar is an island bigger than France, sitting 400 kilometers off Africa's east coast. It looks like a place where evolution tests out some of its craziest experiments. Lush rainforests fall away to sun-scorched plains. Trees seem to march across the landscape upside down with their roots in the sky. Armored, spiny plants line up against deadly-looking fields of razor-sharp stone. And in such a fantasy land, you would expect a colorful array of inhabitants. Madagascar doesn't disappoint here either. These wide-eyed, screeching lemurs stand out as some of the island's more attention-grabbing endemic animals. There are over 30 different kinds of lemur all over Madagascar. Big, small, landlubbers and aerial acrobats. And all of them live only here and on 3 small islands. Lemurs flourish in the niche usually occupied by monkeys in other parts of the world, but no true monkeys evolved here. Like most primates, lemurs prefer communal living. This black and white ruffed lemur is a new mother. At 6 weeks old, her babies are still too young to be left on their own for long. Usually, rough mothers give birth to twins, but this one has a rare litter of triplets. Rest is almost impossible, with 3 active youngsters to care for. These black and white ruffed lemurs live in thick rainforest along Madagascar's eastern coast. Mountains jut from the Indian Ocean and cause massive thermals of air. Here, a black kite can soar for hours. The mountains also trap moisture blowing in from the sea. Barely a day goes by without rain. $11 million hectares of rainforest soak up to 3.5 meters of rain over 240 days a year on average. The forest needs all this rain to support its incredible biodiversity. There are over 30 species of lemur, and they must be used to the weather by now. Lemurs look innocent enough, so it's hard to grasp how important they and their island are. Their isolated presence here makes them a high priority for global primate conservation. In addition, more than 80% of the plants and animals here exist nowhere else. And when you take a look at some of them, it's no surprise. Chameleons of all shapes and sizes share the island with the lemurs. Lemurs fall into different families, and some of the tree-living ones are called sheephakas. The diadem sheephaka, about the same size as the black and white ruffed lemur, lives in a neighboring valley. Sheephakas get their name from their noisy territorial call. They are expert leapers and clingers and tend to live most of their lives in the treetops. This tree is producing a large crop of flowers, so it's time to eat. Large birds of prey do hunt sheephakas, and though a black kite poses no serious threat, the diadems take no chances. The kite also rouses a group of indri, Madagascar's largest lemur. It would be dwarfed by a gorilla-sized cousin known as a sloth lemur, but it is now, sadly, extinct. Like the ruffed lemur triplets, a young indri can't keep still. Indri live in small, close family groups and are highly territorial. They claim their part of the forest with an ear-piercing call, which carries 2 kilometers through the trees. The indri move off in search of food. They rarely travel on the forest floor, and so sometimes have to leap 10 meters in a single jump. A definite advantage when searching for a meal, especially as they are the only lemur not to have a tail for a counterbalance. The fruit of this Ravensara tree is not completely ripe. The indri pick out the tasty parts and drop the rest to the ground. "30 meters below on the forest floor, where the indri rarely go, another world of strange creatures battle for survival, unseen by the lemurs above.
Stimați spectatori, Tantum Verde luptă împotriva gâtului roșu. Calmează durerea, înlătură bacteriile și datorită efectului antiinflamator al benzidaminei tratează inflamația. Bravo! Tantum Verde tratează gâtul roșu prin triplă acțiune, rapid și eficient. Când ai gâtul roșu, cu Tantum Verde trece. Acum și Tantum Lemon cu gust de lămâie. Tantum Verde conține benzidamină și se poate elibera fără prescripție medicală. Se recomandă citirea cu atenție a prospectului. Dacă apar manifestări neplăcute, adresați-vă medicului sau farmacistului.
Au! M-a gândit la tăl! Cum ai ajuns, doamne, cu paiul ăla până în copită? Bunătăți cu lapte, acum cu pai telescopic. Când îți iubești părul, faci totul ca să eviți asta.
L'Oreal inventează Elsev antirupere cu omega ceramide pentru o dublă reparare. La exterior reface suprafața până la vârfuri. În interior reconstruiește fibra capilară. Rezultat cu până la 95% mai puțin păr rupt la periaj. Nou Elsev antirupere de la L'Oreal cu omega ceramide pentru o reparare internă plus externă.
Pentru că meritați. Descoperă noua Poiana, îmbinarea perfectă dintre laptele bogat și cacao pură. Un gust nou, intens, cu adevărat delicios. Noua Poiana, delicios de ciocolată.
A fost descoperit mormântul primului împărat al Chinei și au fost scoase la iveală dovezi sinistre ale cruzimii fără limite ale acelor vremuri. Oameni sfârtecați, execuții în masă, violență dincolo de cuvinte. Cel care a unit China. În premieră, National Geographic are povestea reală din spatele legendei. Astăzi la 10, secretele primului împărat.
München, 5 septembrie 1972. Teroriști palestinieni pătrund în satul olimpic, omoară 2 atleți evrei și capturează alți 9. Până la miezul nopții, toți ostatecii au fost executați. Urmăriți seria de gafe monumentale care a condus la tragedie. Un documentar din seria Clipe de coșmar. Masacru olimpic. Marți noapte la 10.
Oprește! Privește din nou. Unele clipe am dorit să rămână cu noi pentru totdeauna. Sunt dintre cele mai captivante imagini filmate vreodată. Povești care ne schimbă percepția asupra lumii. Clasic, de la National Geographic Channel. În fiecare vineri la 10.
A camouflaged leaf mantis prepares to hunt. The mantella frog is too big to be prey. It's after its own meal, termites. The mantis spots a Bracacia. At around 2.5 centimeters long, the Bracacia is the world's smallest chameleon. It could comfortably sit on the last joint of a man's thumb. The Bracacia might make a good meal, but for the moment, the mantis shows no interest. The dead leaf disguise may be just as much to protect the mantis from predators as for hiding it from prey. Bracacia often play the dead leaf trick too, to avoid being eaten. The Bracacia has many larger cousins in Madagascar. Much larger. This Parsons chameleon is one of the giants, growing up to 90 centimeters long, bigger than a domestic cat. Over 50 species of chameleon live on Madagascar, more than everywhere else in the world combined. Isolation means no competition from animals on the mainland, so the chameleons diversified into many different environments. For all their diversity, there is one thing all chameleons have in common. They are supreme hunters. Many can extend their extraordinary catapult tongues almost the entire length of their bodies. Chameleons are highly territorial, and this pardalis spots an intruder on his turf. The rival is attracted by a nearby female, who flashes a black warning. Chameleons don't change color for camouflage. They do it to communicate. The defending male puffs up and sports his brightest colors to deter the intruder. But this one seems determined to reach the female. The defender moves in to attack. The intruder decides to retreat, but escape is not so easy. Defeated, the intruder quickly displays his dark surrender colors. For the moment, the defender's territory is safe. Sounds of non-stop activity come from the rainforest canopy. The boisterous black and white ruffed lemur triplets keep their mother on her toes. Not much rest for her, and it's time to feed. She must leave her babies alone and unguarded, and lemur young are not without predators. By the stream below, a gathering of mantella frogs feast on insects. They look very similar to the poison arrow frogs of South America. They aren't related. They've just evolved the same design to deal with the same situations. Their larger cousin, the tomato frog, simply waits for a meal to crawl by. The mother ruffed lemur finds a ravenala tree in flower. She pushes her face deep into the bracts to get to the sweet nectar, and her face gets dusted with pollen. Her travels between ravenalas in search of more nectar pollinate the trees as she goes. The baby ruffs are restless and begin to stray. It's an exciting world up here with so much going on. The Madagascar paradise flycatcher is one of the more gaudy distractions in the forest, as parents continuously bring insects to noisy chicks. The infant lemurs have the urge to explore, but are still clumsy. Two of them normally travel everywhere on their mother, and accidents can happen. A large Madagascar tree boa is out and about. The mother is too busy feeding to notice. Wrapped around their mother's neck like a scarf, they move to a safer spot, one at a time. She takes the first to safety and quickly returns for the others. The third baby is now strong enough to escape on his own. Finally, the triplets are safe. Darkness reveals one of Madagascar's more specialized evolutionary offspring. Of all the exotic wildlife, one creature easily takes the prize as the strangest. The aye-aye. Despite its ghoulish appearance, the aye-aye is actually a lemur with some astonishing adaptations for finding food. Aye-aye specialize in foods that are difficult for other animals to reach, and one of its favorites is wood grubs. To find them, the aye-aye taps on branches until its giant ears detect a change in sound. Once a grub tunnel is located, the aye-aye rips it open with razor-sharp teeth. Then a uniquely long bony middle finger comes into play, probing for the grubs with remarkable dexterity. Aye-aye looks so startlingly strange that some local Malagasy people have killed them on sight, fearing they are a portent of death. They are just another example of how lemurs adapt to different ways of life on the island. Wherever there is an opportunity, there is a lemur waiting to take it. Life on Madagascar is full of these strange evolutionary experiments and adaptations. Rainwater, clouds and mist saturate the high-altitude forest. Moisture falls from canopies and foliage and begins a long, slow journey to a very different part of the island. Over 300 kilometers downstream, the river flows through a vast and inaccessible landscape. Towering limestone pinnacles called the Singi of Beimaraha. The result of eons of erosion. The razor edges of the Singi form the ultimate fortress against the outside world. But even here, there is life. This jagged landscape poses a challenge to many creatures, but the Oosterlet's chameleon takes it all in its stride. It crosses the knife-edge rocks by gripping with its mitten-like toes, fused together in opposite pairs, in search of food. Erosion sliced the sharp edges of the Singi and cut a maze of crevices 30 meters deep, creating hidden worlds for the creatures that live here. Beyond the Tsingy, the river becomes broad and shallow. These waters are the hunting grounds for one of the rarest predators of this wild land, the Madagascar fish eagle. With a wingspan of 2 meters, the fish eagle is the island's largest bird of prey. Only around 200 birds survive. Its normal diet is fish, but it might take water birds from time to time. It's related to the American bald eagle, but this is the only place it lives, which is a shame, as they are now very endangered. Water-storing baobab trees dominate the arid forests of western Madagascar. It hasn't rained here in 9 months. Most of the smaller riverbeds are nothing but dry, cracked mud. Creatures living here have to adapt to the aridness, eking out an existence in Madagascar's deciduous forests. Cockerel shifaka are smaller than the diadem shifakas of the eastern rainforests. They feed much of the year on bark and leaf buds. They protect their precious feeding trees from rival groups by scent marking with a specialized gland under the chin. The shifaka catches the attention of a buki-buki. The buki-buki survives the dry season by living off ants and grubs it digs up from the soil. All sorts of animals have adapted to the poor conditions here, and there are bigger players than the buki-buki on the prowl. In the shadows nearby lurks a much more formidable hunter, a fossa. But the fossa is not interested in the buki-buki. He has a larger meal in mind.
Când veștile sunt atât de bune, îți vine să strici de bucurie. Nestlé Fitness te ajută să-ți menții silueta pentru mai mult timp. Nu toate cerealele pentru menținerea siluetei sunt la fel. Cerealele Nestlé Fitness sunt cereale integrale, iar studiile independente au demonstrat. Femeile care mănâncă cereale integrale au tendința de a-și menține silueta mult mai mult timp. Acum, astfel de vești merită răspândite. Nestlé Fitness menține silueta pentru mai mult timp.
Știți ce e atât de nedrept? Când realizez că ieri toate ridurile acestea nici nu existau. De aceea folosesc cel mai avansat Revitalift din ultimii 10 ani. Noul Revitalift cu factor de protecție solară 15. Priviți ce poate face Revitalift în doar 2 săptămâni. Acțiune antirid cu proretinol Aforte, acțiune fermitate cu fibra elastil și factor de protecție solară. Doar cu noul Revitalift. Și toate acestea în doar 2 săptămâni. Este nedrept un astfel de avantaj? Este. Cel mai avansat Revitalift de la L'Oreal. Pentru că merit.
Mama, să nu mă căutați, că eu nu mai vin acasă. La ceartă și bătaie în fiecare zi. Știu că nu mă iubiți și nu mă vreți. Oriunde e mai bine decât acasă.
Copiii străzii nu s-au născut pe stradă. E răspunderea ta să nu ajungă acolo. Și tu poți fi un părinte mai bun.
Toaleta, cheia spre o viață civilizată. De la găurile medievale, unde gravitația făcea totul, la toaleta spațială cu zero gravitate. Confortul acelor momente ne face viața frumoasă. Dar ce urmează după ce tragem apa? Ce se întâmplă într-un avion? Putem compara un tron de 5.000 de ani cu unul de $5.000? Adam Hart Davis e pus pe treabă cercetând toaleta. Duminică seară la 8. Atâtea explorări, atât de multe mistere, atâta aventură, atât de mult pericol și secrete și descoperiri. Atât de multe despre toate, că ne și mirăm cum de le putem aduna pe toate într-o singură noapte. Ce și cum, o temă specială. Miercuri la ora 22.
În sălbăticie, în timpul săptămânii la 8 pe National Geographic Channel.
The fossa is another animal unique to Madagascar. It is an ancient relative of the mongoose and the island's largest carnivore. It can be 3 times the weight of the cockerel's shifakas, but it's no less skilled in the forest. The shifaka sound the alarm. Fossa ambush and hunt shifakas. The shifakas carry their young on their back, and the fossa will take advantage of any casualties in the panic. Every time the lemurs switch trees, the fossa switches too. The chase exhausts the fossa. Silent ambush would have saved more energy in the heat, and for the moment, they escape. A change is coming to the dry forests of the west. Finally, months of dry season come to an end. Dwarf lemurs begin to stir from their dormancy. Many animals sleep out the driest times, and they will soon be active again. Though this first shower is brief, small pools form and a miraculous change is triggered. Frogs emerge from the softened earth to begin their intense mating ritual. For this species, the entire mating season lasts just 1 day. Those that don't find a partner quickly struggle in desperation. Eggs and sperm are released, and it's all over for this year. The rains bring an explosion of new life to the riverbed. It's like someone just switched the lights on. For the Madagascar kingfisher, the breeding insect bonanza is a windfall. In a wondrous display of aerobatics, dragonflies dip their tails into the water. Each time depositing eggs beneath the surface. The earth is softened by the rains, and the Madagascar iguana can finally lay her eggs. The iguana and the boa constrictor are a bit of a mystery, as they usually occur in Central and South America, never in Africa. One theory is their ancestors lived on ancient Madagascar, millions of years ago when it was part of a supercontinent that included modern South America, before it broke apart. The iguana's priority now is to push the eggs down as deep as she can and then bury the nest, carefully covering it to conceal its location. There are many predators that appreciate a meal of fresh eggs. The Madagascar hog-nosed snake finds food with its keen sense of smell. It's no threat to the adult, but its appetite could wipe out this iguana's next generation. Gulp after gulp, and this year's chances for offspring are gone. The first rains signal many trees to flush out their leaves. In less than 2 weeks, the western forests turn from brown to green. Everywhere, dormant creatures come to life. One of them is a 30-centimeter long walking stick. The wings on this giant insect aren't for flying, but to frighten potential predators. The Labord's chameleon has also just become active. He is looking for a mate, and he spies a female on another vine. There is, however, an obstacle. The female compresses her body and tries to hide behind the vine, but it's no use. The male approaches. Within seconds, she flashes her warning colors. She's not interested. Already mated, she uses vivid pigments in her high-tech skin to reject her eager suitor. Looks like he gets the message. In the southern part of Madagascar lies the bizarre land of the spiny desert. Down here is the driest region of the island. It gets barely 30 centimeters of rainfall each year. Part forest, part desert, it defies description, but it does contain some of the most unusual plants in the world. Many of them covered with spines to protect the precious water they store inside. If you want to make a living in the spiny desert, then you need to tread very carefully. A group of ring-tailed lemurs carefully negotiate the spines of a dideria tree to reach a fresh crop of flower buds. The tender foliage must be worth the risk. It makes the spiky monkey puzzle tree of South America look like child's play. Walking on these thorns requires supreme skill, and for the young, there's a bit of pain in the learning process. Ringtails love to bask in the sun and are often seen sitting on their haunches absorbing the sun's rays. They don't live in the tall rainforests of the east, preferring open, dry forest as they spend more time on the ground than any other lemur. They are also the most sociable lemur, living in groups of up to 25. In the larger groups, several females produce young. For infant ringtails, that means that a playmate is never far away. Playtime is interrupted by a visitor. It's a male radiated tortoise, about 15 kilos in weight, and in hot pursuit of a female. If the female is reluctant, the male demonstrates his prowess by bullying her. He hooks his shell under hers, threatening to tip her over. Finally, she gives in. It may not be the most tuneful serenade, but their coupling will result in tiny 3 to 4 centimeter tortoise hatchlings. The rose shifaka are almost twice the size of the ringtails. They're also at home in the trees of spiny forest and are one of the few primates that never drink water, getting all of their moisture from the vegetation they eat. They feast on the young tips of a euphorbia tree, which exude a bitter white latex to keep insects and browsers at bay. Shifting winds signal the end of the dry season, finally bringing the promise of rain down to the arid south. months, only sand flowed in the parched riverbeds, but that is about to change. Though little rain actually falls here, distant showers run down to fill the riverbeds, nourishing life for kilometers around. The subtle change in groundwater is enough to cause many of the spiny trees to transform themselves. It's midday, and the shifaka are in search of shade. To find it, they must cross a patch of open terrain, demonstrating the sashaying movement that gives them the nickname of the dancing lemur. Gallery forests grow in narrow strips along the edge of rivers. The shifakas enter a dense patch where trees tap groundwater year-round, creating a deep and welcome shade. The ringtails also make the journey to the gallery by ground. They come here to forage and to drink. The forest is also home to a colony of fruit bats roosting in a giant tamarind tree. It's mating season for the bats. Even during daylight, the roost bustles with activity. Ringtails are known for their own distinct vocalizations. Under the bat colony, they can feast on fallen tamarind pods. A pair of giant kuas, weak flying relatives of the cuckoo, also forage on the forest floor. Like the shifaka, the adult ringtails take advantage of the gallery's shade to rest, but for the youngsters, it's always playtime. Females are dominant in ringtail society, and the group uses scent as well as touch to communicate and reinforce bonds. Mothers groom their young, and mates groom each other. Ringtail groups may forage for 150,000 square meters. Right now, they're going to the river. In the dry south, water is a scarce and valuable resource. Yet far to the north is a region of Madagascar where water is more than abundant.
M-am gândit la tăl! Cum ai ajuns, doamne, cu paiul ăla până în copită?
Bunătăți cu lapte, acum cu pai telescopic.
Munca poate lăsa urme adânci pe mâinile tale. Pielea ta este uscată și crăpată. Crema de mâini Neutrogena cu formulă norvegiană hidratează și calmează imediat chiar și cele mai uscate și aspre mâini. Tratate, mâinile tale sunt moi și extrem de catifelate. Crema de mâini cu formulă norvegiană de la Neutrogena.
Stimați spectatori, Tantum Verde luptă împotriva gâtului roșu. Calmează durerea, înlătură bacteriile și datorită efectului antiinflamator al benzinaminei tratează inflamația. Bravo! Tantum Verde tratează gâtul roșu prin triplă acțiune, rapid și eficient. Când ai gâtul roșu, cu Tantum Verde trece. Acum și Tantum Lemon cu gust de lămâie. Tantum Verde conține benzidamină și se poate elibera fără prescripție medicală. Se recomandă citirea cu atenție a prospectului. Dacă apar manifestări neplăcute, adresați-vă medicului sau farmacistului.
Internetul vine peste tine cu noul abonament ClickNet Express 512 Lite la prețul de numai 11,9 euro cu TVA inclus. ClickNet. Innovate your life.
O pauză mai puțin obișnuită, adusă de cea mai proaspătă cafea. Selected, formula prospețimii.
E drept, sunt minuscule, dar niciodată n-au fost mai însemnate ca acum. Gângănii la atac. Urmează pe National Geographic Channel.
Închisoarea Pelican Bay a fost ridicată inițial pentru a controla bandele criminale, dar borfașii au făcut din ea cartierul lor general.
Dacă ajungi la Pelican Bay, te-ai scos.
Prin coduri sofisticate, bandele continuă să facă legea în LA. Închisoarea pretinde că ripostează. E oare prea târziu? Un război dement. Cine câștigă? Noaptea răilor. De la 11 pe National Geographic.
Au crezut că e de nescufundat.
Un iceberg chiar în față!
S-au înșelat.
Viteză!
Au pierit într-o noapte 1500 de oameni. E posibil ca această navă să fi fost condamnată încă înainte de ieșirea din port? Redeschidem dosarul, facem teste, îi căutăm slăbiciunile ascunse. Un program din seria Clipe de coșmar. Titanic, duminică noapte la 10.
A giant marsh surrounds the shores of Madagascar's largest lake, Locolotra. It's another haven for unique plants and animals found nowhere else on the island, including one of the rarest and most peculiar of all lemurs, the bandrew. Weighing in at less than a kilo, the bandrew is the only primate in the world that spends its entire life hovered above water. They travel in small groups, living off the indigenous plants that thrive in the marshes. The base of the papyrus plant is a particular bandrew delicacy. For millions of years, this curious little primate flourished in the safety of Madagascar's isolation. And then a bigger primate arrived on the scene. Around 1,500 years ago, humans first set foot here. It's the same old story. As soon as we move in, wildlife tends to move out. In this area, growing pressure on local people forces fishermen to burn vegetation in an attempt to improve their access to fishing grounds. Bad news for the bandrew. No one knows for sure how many animals get caught up in the fires, but for this bandrew troop, time is definitely running out. To escape the flames this time, the group crosses a small channel to safety. But in an ever-shrinking world, the threat is constant. During our relatively brief tenancy of wild Edens like Madagascar, we've caused irrevocable change. Will the Bandrew end up the next victim of circumstance? Despite the daily struggle of the island's human population to meet its own basic needs, it's not all bad news for Madagascar's wild community. Against all odds, 2 brand new species of lemur came out of hiding recently, giving new hope in a fragile land. For the island's remaining 10% of natural habitat, a new presidential pledge promises to triple the size of protected areas. With more than 2/3 of Madagascar's remaining forest under protection, the battle to save this extraordinary world apart is far from lost. A new day dawns for the wild creatures at home in the living Eden we call Madagascar.